As the casualty toll in Gaza exceeds 1,000, Israeli troops close in on Gaza City. And today, 2 Katyusha rockets hit northern Israel from Lebanon, and Israel responded by firing 9 rockets back. After last week's shelling, Israel warned South Lebanon residents that another attack may lead to retaliation similar to the 2006 war. Yesterday, another Palestinian youth was killed by Jewish settlers in the West Bank. Meanwhile, the Palestinian Authority has cracked down on Palestinian protesters angry at the Israeli attacks on Gaza, leaving at least 3 dead and over 100 arrested. To understand the reality on the ground, we speak to George Rishmawi, founder of the International Middle East Center. George joins us from Beth Sehur, Palestine. Thanks for joining us, George.
Thank you.
So, George, give us just a quick take on what's been happening the last couple of days.
The Israeli army is trying to enter the Gaza city, which is expected to raise the deaths for higher numbers more than the previous stages, because the airstrikes and the ground invasion on the northern part, and now they are around the Gaza city. Today, the number of people killed is more than 1,000. It's, I think, 1,001. And the number of wounded people reached 4,580 people, including women and children, and of course among the dead there are about 670 civilians.
George, the strategic objective of the Israeli attack seems to be essentially the elimination of Hamas as a government, and it seems to be that the Palestinian Authority and the government of Egypt are more or less in cooperation with this in reality. Do you think that's a fair take?
It's not very accurate to say that the Palestinian Authority is involved or is in partnership with this offensive. However, we are not seeing enough action on the Palestinian Authority side to stop this invasion and to lobby on the international level to apply more pressure on Israel in order to stop its offensive. Because what is needed is not only that Israel stops the attack on the Gaza Strip, but also the Israeli leaders and the officers responsible for this war has to be brought before international tribunals for war crimes, because what we are witnessing in the Gaza Strip is not less than war crimes. So the government of Egypt, in some way, is trying to play the role of the mediator between the Palestinians and the Israelis, as they were trying to play the role of mediator between the Palestinians and the talks in Cairo to reach or to bridge the gap between Fatah and Hamas. The ultimate goal for this war is to stop the rocket attacks, or the so-called rocket attacks.
The rockets may have been one goal, but certainly the bigger goal seems to be to weaken Hamas to such a point that Hamas can't govern in Gaza. People in positions of authority in Israel have said this war has to go all the way, and all the way seems to be the destruction of Hamas. If they're successful, and I guess that's still a big if, that only leaves either a new Israeli occupation of Gaza or the Israelis hand Gaza over to the Palestinian Authority.
Well, it's not just difficult, it's impossible that Israel can eliminate Hamas or completely destroy Hamas. This is impossible to do. The estimates are talking about 15 to 20,000 fighters. Forget about the fighters. They have to go on assassinating all the political leaders in order to disable Hamas from governing in the Gaza Strip. This is number one. Number two, if the Palestinian Authority will be part of this and then will govern the Gaza Strip, as we say it in Arabic, to enter the Gaza Strip on an Israeli tank, this will be the end of the Palestinian Authority, because everybody will be against the government that has been established by Israeli military power. So that will be the end of it. Therefore, I believe that what's going to happen is that Israel will finally negotiate with Hamas in the same way they negotiated with Hezbollah, at least partially, to release prisoners and to retrieve bodies. So I think Hamas is depending somehow on trying to capture soldiers, 1 or 2 soldiers, and that will end the whole show, because then Israel will have to negotiate again with Hamas and to release these soldiers in exchange of other things.
Well, why is the Palestinian Authority cracking down with so much force against demonstrators in the West Bank who are demonstrating against the Israeli attack on Gaza?
But the Palestinian Authority is not interested in having another intifada in the West Bank. In general, the situation in the West Bank has been calm from the Palestinian side for a long time, except the Israeli invasions in the West Bank that, move things around. However, if the Israeli army does not invade areas and assassinate resistance leaders or political leaders or arrest them, nothing will happen in the West Bank except the non-violent demonstrations against the wall and settlement that happen sometimes every day or every week. If Palestinians, after they protest and show solidarity with Gaza, reach to the friction point with the Israeli army, there might be more Palestinians killed, and this is at least how the Palestinian Authority explained it. We understand that if there would be more Palestinian protests and fights with the army in the West Bank, that will add pressure on Israel. They will have to bring more troops to the West Bank because now they have called in the reserve, and they are using the reserve in the Gaza Strip. So they are focusing all their efforts on Gaza Strip, and that will open another front in the West Bank, and Israel is not interested in that at the moment.